Welcome to Chris and Jen in the Morning.
Where it's always morning somewhere. I'm Chris.
And I'm Jen.
And welcome to another fun and exciting episode, everybody. We are happy to have you.
It's already been an adventure here this morning, hasn't it?
Sure has. Look, it's never a dull moment when we're involved, right?
Not for me, not for you, and not for anyone else.
So
dull?
true.
What is dull? What is dull? No, this is not karaoke hour.
Yeah, I don't think that is the song necessarily. But you know what? Make it your own, right?
It's just like playing in my head now.
Yeah.
I mean, that is one of my favorite things to do, especially like when we road trip, is make up other words to the songs, and whoever can make up the best words wins. And like, of course, I'm playing a game to win, and Ace is just like, I'm basically just playing a game with myself, and he's just there to enjoy it all.
But you have your scoreboard and your pen, and you are making those ticks.
I don't, but I mean, you've been. We didn't play that game though when we
didn't play that game, but we did like name the artist or name the song.
Yes, maybe both. And of course, we all know who won that game.
Okay, well, in all fairness, you kept taking all my points away because, like, I would make these, huge errors.
I had to level.
Like, oh, that's insulting. All your points are gone.
I had to level the playing field. It's called playing with a handicap. Do you know what golf is? Golf rules.
I do. I don't.
Golf rules. Golf rules.
Just not the sport for me. Is it a sport? I guess it is.
I don't know how to play golf or any of that. I just hear people say, like, playing with a handicap when it relates to golf. And so I'm going to pretend like I do.
All right. Well, let's get started with our gratitude moment, as we always do. We have been getting like fantastic weather here. It's like practically fall weather, and I know some people are very unhappy about it because people up here love the summertime. They love being able to go to the beaches and all of the things. I do not.
I mean, like, summer's great. I love all the seasons, but
yeah, I'm thrilled. I've been able to start walking again. Like my 15-minute walk to the subway that's a little bit further from me. It just helps me, clear my head and just feel better. And I only want to do that whenever it feels nice outside. Otherwise, by the time I get to work, I'm a hot, sweaty mess, and I'm just angry at the world.
You're a fair weather walker.
That's right. I certainly am. But it's been so nice. We've just been able to keep our windows open, some fans on, and it's just been absolutely beautiful. And so today, when we're done recording, we're actually going to go sit in the park for a little while and enjoy the outdoors.
Without me? I'll be
you're welcome to come.
I'll
just
be right there.
Hop on the Chris and Jen in the Morning jet.
Oh, do you think I could order one of those?
Yeah, why not?
Like on our merch store? Do they have one?
Sure, yeah. I'm sure we have one. We have lots of other things on that merch store.
Probably. We probably do. We'll talk about it in a minute. I love that. I love that it's fall. I share your gratitude for the weather kind of cooling down, simmering a little bit. I was thinking this morning and last night about, like, what is it that I want to talk about for my gratitude moment? There's just so many things to be grateful for. And I feel like I repeat myself quite often. Not that I'm keeping track of what I bring to the table each week, but I don't want to be a broken record. So I feel like there's pressure to come up with something I haven't said before, which is kind of funny. But, I just was really thinking about how grateful I am to have so many people in my care kind of network that, like, actually care about my well-being and my health. And, in particular, there are a few doctors that I have that I see that, like, I feel like truly take the time to see me and to like really genuinely care about my health, which I don't take for granted, because certainly we've all been to doctors who like really don't take the time to see you. And so
Yeah.
the fact that I have kind of three doctors that I see who genuinely care about my health and my quality of life, I think
Yeah.
is, you know, um, like something that I am incredibly grateful for. And I also know that while it is their profession, like it's not an easy one and they
No.
choose to do it. And not only do they choose to do it, they choose to actually like show up and be present.
Yeah.
And so I just am incredibly grateful for, the caregivers and the healthcare professionals out there who do the work that you do, where you take the time to invest in other people, and like it's how you spend a good chunk of your time here on this planet, and like we are all the better for it. So I couldn't do it. I just um, too much like gore and uh other people's stuff. I don't know, but like I just am incredibly grateful that that you do. So that's what I'm grateful for today.
That's such a good one. I think finding doctors and like anyone who helps you take care of like the whole you, it's very personal, and I know it's sometimes really hard to find those physicians who you feel like connect with you and see you and not just like the data and the labs and the things like that. And um, I know it took me a while to find a good doctor here, because also I would say the experience here is very different than
Yeah.
what it is in Texas, and so I do think like that was something I wasn't expecting when I moved here. Like no one had told me that. So I remember the first time I was looking for a doctor, it took a little while. But when I finally found one, like now I go to this guy and like look forward to seeing him because he sees me.
Well, to be clear, I don't think I ever look forward to going to any kind of doctor, whatever kind of doctor they may be, one for mental health or dental health or any other kind of health. I don't think I ever look forward to going to the doctor, but
Okay.
I certainly appreciate that I have, people in my network, my of care team that, um, are like make it possible for me to do that without like just having a complete meltdown.
Which is very important.
I mean, it's important to get care, even if it stresses you out, but man, um, we all need other people to help us maintain our health
Yeah.
physically, mentally, emotionally, and knowing that I've found people who genuinely actually see me and care about me and are invested in helping me be healthy. Like it's just such a selfless profession to
Yeah.
choose, and so I just am incredibly grateful. So um, speaking of things that I'm grateful for, I am also incredibly grateful for the opportunity to attend the drag bingo brunch that was put on by the Drayson and April and Shayna, who are just incredible individuals. They put it on as a fundraiser for the first ever Pride Kelso. Oh my gosh, get it wrong all the time. But I am like so I wish you could have been there, Chris. Like
I wish I could have been.
it was incredible. I first just have to say this was an enormous event. So the fact that they pulled this together, and the Drayson just put this on first time, I think, doing an event like this at this scale, and it was like flawless. It's you would never have known. They pulled it off so flawlessly that like it just from a probably they didn't feel this way being anyone that's ever managed an event or run an event, but like from the outside looking in just as a participant, it just felt like everything was so smooth, and it was like such an enjoyable time, and we had a ton of fun. A friend was asking me like, "Do you really like to just go play bingo?" And I'm like, "Well, like no, I've never been and played bingo before, but like it was really fun." And the MC, Jennifer with a G, did such a fantastic job. Incredible, just incredible. The talent there, dancing, incredible. Jennifer with a G actually sang
Oh,
a
wow.
Disney villain song and just phenomenal. Um, and we just had such a good time. And knowing that, you know, we were doing this for something that is so important to us was
Yeah.
also really special to see how many people turned out. You know, I think the one thing that they may have been a little conscious of is how long the line was to like check in. And I'm like, I was delighted that there was a long line, honestly, because it meant that so many people showed up and,
Yeah.
you know, they just adjusted the schedule and everything. It all just felt very seamless and flawless. So just hats off to April and Shayna. They are phenomenal. Their whole team of people just phenomenally talented. The Drayson is such an amazing business, but like such a really cool thing to get to be a part of. And it went so well that they are now planning another one for December 14th. So if you are feeling a little disappointed that may you missed out, if you are in the DFW area or around, will be around DFW in December, or you're thinking about planning to come because you just don't want to miss out, December 14th, it is a Sunday. It'll be in the evening this time, so it won't be a brunch. It'll be from 5 to 8. But guys, this isn't just like, oh, I'm going to go play bingo. Like you're just there to enjoy not only the fun of like getting to play the bingo game and the thrill of am
Right.
I gonna win? There was one time where I just needed one more number, but like so that's a little bit fun, but also the dancing in between, the performances, and then knowing that like all of this is going toward um you know this festival that will you know become an annual festival, be the first one this year. And what when is the festival? Um, it is in
It's
October.
October.
Um,
I've already booked our tickets to get there.
I cannot wait. We have VIP tickets to the VIP tent. I'm so excited. Cannot wait. So it is October 4th. It's at St. Martin in the Fields, right there on the line between Keller and South Lake. It'll be outside. They're planning for whatever weather may come because you never know about Texas weather in October. But it is sure to be beautiful and amazing. It's free if you want to attend. If you want VIP tickets to the VIP tent, which includes drinks and snacks and all kinds of special, exciting experiences, you can buy that experience. That's where Chris and I will be, is in the VIP tent. But just I can't wait to go. I'm so excited. I am so grateful to Shayna and April for putting this on. Um, and you know, really rallying all of the support around it. And we
Yeah.
cannot wait to see you all there.
It's so exciting, such a monumental moment for that community, um, which of course is near and dear to y'all because you live there, near and dear
Yeah.
to me because that's where I grew up. So it's really an opportunity for those who, you know, identify as part of the LGBTQ plus community, but also the allies of the LGBTQ plus community to come together, like they shared on our episode a few weeks ago. Like, it's a music festival. Like, it's a music festival with a bunch of rainbows. So it's meant to like be fun. It's meant to be a joyous time for connection and networking
Yeah.
and like
It's a
like-minded people coming
It's a
together.
family-friendly event.
Yep.
There's something there for everybody. And you know, I just have to stop and talk about that for a minute because you know, the some of the backlash, the conversation that's been happening kind of opposing this festival has been around like the upsetness that this is, you know, for everybody and just keep the kids out of it. And every time I hear that, what I think is like, so you mean being gay is not kid appropriate. So like what are you saying? My friend Chris is like not appropriate to be like around kids? That's like just check yourself and what you're saying, because if you're thinking it's all R-rated or X-rated stuff, then like maybe you're you're the problem. Maybe you're the challenge. So, when people say it's just oh, it's all fine, do what you want to do, but keep the kids out of it. Like keep the kids out of what? Um,
Yeah. I mean, look, as someone who, identifies as gay, I knew from like what 12, 13, 14 years old that I was gay.
and being
But I
around other gay people didn't make you gay because you
no,
weren't
I wasn't
around
around any.
other gay people.
Correct. But it's also like I think it's also really important for people to understand like this idea around being around people who you can identify with, and a lot of resources are currently being taken away from the LGBTQ plus community, that has helped in saving lives, that has helped in finding care and getting support.
Yeah.
Those things are being taken away, and so it's getting harder and harder, and we're beginning to see the impacts and effects of those things. So I don't know, I think instinctively whenever we don't know about something, we don't like something, we don't get it, our instinct is to pull away from it,
To
it's
resist.
to
Yeah.
resist it, yeah.
To be afraid of
um
it.
Correct. But I would encourage people to not even embrace it at first, but just be curious about it and start asking questions and trying to understand, because you never know who you may encounter throughout your day, and that could be a child, it could be an adult, it could be a teenager, like it could be anyone uh throughout the day that you interact with, that you can leave a lasting impression on. And I know that that sounds like very big, but in this community, it does. It
Yeah.
really does make an impact. And when you are in a community where you're constantly hearing that you don't belong, there isn't space for you, you're the problem, like it's hard. It's hard not to have that, like, number one, stick to you, but then it settles in.
Yeah.
And so it's like you constantly have to be fighting this stigma and these just outright lies um that people make and say because they're afraid, because they don't accept it, because their religion doesn't accept it, like whatever it may be. But don't forget, not everyone believes the same things that you do.
Well, I have to say, I have known you for 11 years. Um, like really known you. I know that we met prior to me moving over to the same company. I just didn't remember that, but I've known you for 11 years. We've been friends. And uh, like, I think you are an incredible role model. Any kid would be lucky to have you as a mentor, to get to learn from the way that you think about life. And, you just are an incredible human. You make my life richer. And I have yet to be turned gay by hanging out with you, attending your wedding, watching you and your husband kiss. So, I mean, I think we're pretty safe. And I say that sort of flippantly, but I do genuinely mean, I just think you are an incredible person, and my life is better for knowing you. And, just for the people that probably aren't listening to this conversation, who are kind of thinking, oh, I don't know, like it's just not for the kids. It's fine,
Right.
do what you want to do, but it's not for the kids. Like maybe just ask yourself why you're thinking that, because I think it would be really unfortunate for people to miss out on what you have to offer.
I agree.
I agree. Noted.
Well,
Dial
thank you
down.
for all of those wonderful things. I'm going to keep that. So when I'm having rough days, I'll just hit replay on that to remind myself that I'm not this horrible monster that's ruining the
Oh
people
my gosh,
all
you
around me.
certainly don't think that. Surely
No, not
not.
at all. Not at all. Um, but I think it does go to, and we could make this a whole other episode, but like it goes to like that like internal dialogue that gets created as
Yeah.
you grow up. And so, I talk about in, my story of accepting who I was. Like, I had to have a reckoning with the things that I grew up with from a religious standpoint, from a family understanding, like all of these things to truly feel like I could finally be myself. So I think that's why I'm so um passionate about this, and passionate for people just to understand like that words matter, because I've sat on the
Yeah.
other side and heard these things, and had to, you can't unring a bell, right? So
Yeah.
like once it's said, it's out there. So then it's like, then you have to start like sifting through all of that as an individual who's impacted by that, to figure out like, what is my next step, and how should I move forward? How do I engage with these individuals? So I appreciate that. I do not believe about myself that I am a horrible person who is
You are not.
ruining society. Um, but it's always nice to hear flattering things about oneself.
I mean, of course, of course. And today, I know what we are here to talk about is museums, and you and I
Yes.
both appreciate a good museum. I think in many different ways. But before we dig into that conversation, as we're talking about the Dreesen and Pride Kelso, it would be I would be remiss if I did not mention the Badge of Pride exhibit at the Irving Archives and Museum. It is only here through September 28th. So you have, just the rest of the month of September to go, or you will miss it. It has been, just such an incredible turnout. They have seen more visitors to the Irving Museum and Archives than like ever before, I think. The Drayson actually handled the opening event, which is how we became aware of this event, the Badge of Pride. And honestly, I'm just so surprised that it wasn't marketed more widely. It is like such an incredible exhibit to go visit. So definitely go check that out. Um, but we definitely wanted to kind of talk about museums today. And so, Chris, why don't you kick us off? Why are we
Yes.
talking about museums? Why is
Well,
this an important topic?
yeah, so I think in the news lately, there's been a lot of talk about museums and a lot of perspectives. And I am not saying that I either fully agree or disagree with certain stances that have been taken. I think what I wanted to focus our conversation around is like how museums are enriching and how they can support an individual who is on a journey of learning or curious about, previous things, future things, the creative arts. There's museums that are so diverse in what you can go and like truly immerse yourself in, that I feel like what's getting the press right now is a lot of negative things.
Hmm.
And so I would just kind of want to talk about like our experiences with museums and
Yeah.
how maybe they've enriched our lives. And we talk a lot about self-care, and museums can be, going to a museum can be a form of self-care. It can, if that is what brings you joy, what brings you happiness, you can go and get lost and just wander through a museum. So that's why I kind of wanted to focus our conversation today here. Let's bring some positivity back to museums.
I love that. It's so funny because growing up, we went to a lot of museums. We went when we would go on our annual camping trip vacation.
You
We would.
camped? Can't imagine that.
It's
But that we'll save that for another episode.
probably why I'm so strongly opinionated about camping in general. It was not a great experience for me. But we would go to the national parks because it was like, you know, um, free or incredibly cheap to throw up a tent and, camp. And so, and then all the national parks have a lot of like museums and monuments and stuff. And so we would go do that. And of course, as a child, I just thought, this is like so boring. And now I'm like, I kind of like what kind of wish that I like could recall a little bit more in detail some of the places that I've seen and been. But um but yeah, we also grew up going to the Children's Museum, a lot of like STEM opportunities baked into
Yeah.
that, with like a lot of hands-on science learning, learning about electricity, learning about a lot of like physical science stuff. And I always have been very interested in physics and physical science. And so I think that was a really good opportunity for me to have exposure to something that otherwise I probably really wouldn't have gotten exposure to.
Yeah.
Um, we had a pretty great art museum actually where I grew up in the small city that I grew up in, and they had a lot of children's uh, experience opportunities, that they made available, and I think usually free. Where you would go, and I remember oddly, one of my favorite memories actually was going, I think, around the holidays, and they had you take an orange and put cloves in the orange, and I just remember, like, how good it smelled, but you were doing all kinds of, like, hands-on art activities, um, and I don't know how that was an art activity, but that's, like, I such a like, I remember the sensory, like, smell. I've always loved the smell of cloves and orange, and, um, but, I think, it was just a part of, how I grew up in school. We would go to different museums, and I have always had just a special place for art museums in particular. When
Yeah.
we lived in Kansas City, they have this incredible museum, just a hidden gem, in Kansas City called the Nelson. And The Nelson Atkins Art Museum, and it's free for the public to go to. It is a fantastic museum. They have like such a wide range of exhibits. They have some really incredible pieces. And I used to love, I did not get to spend enough time in that city getting to take in that museum. I used to love to just go and spend, because it's free, you don't feel like, you could just come back. And
You're
so
right.
you can spend as much time as you want.
Yeah.
And I used to just love to go and like look at everything and think about it and kind of be creatively inspired by it. And, not that I've not in the way that then I become some like
World
sculpt
renowned artist.
sculpting, painting artist, but just to get to like think about what was the life of the artist like, what are they trying to portray, what kind of feelings do these things evoke, and I'm not the biggest like history buff, but eh, I was giving you a hard time about art history as as we were doing some trivia, but I think that is one of the ways that I can appreciate history the most as a subject to study.
Yeah.
Not that I don't appreciate the concept of it, but just um, enjoy the subject of studying history is through art. So just a really um all really positive, exciting, good memories. I think
Yeah.
what's interesting is Dallas is so big and there are so many kinds of museums. Even if you consider like an arboretum a museum, and I love to go to a good arboretum, or a botanical garden. Um, but I don't know if it's because there are so many. I don't know if it's because DFW is so big.
Yeah.
Like it just I have not taken advantage of the
Yeah.
opportunity.
I think whenever I was pulling just some thoughts together around this, like I don't really remember going to a whole lot of like museums when I was younger, because we did live in like the Keller South Lake area, and it really like
You kinda have to go
everything was
downtown.
so much further away. Correct. You
Yeah.
either need to go to downtown Fort Worth or you need to go to Dallas. And so I don't I don't have like vivid memories from my childhood. I remember going to the zoo. I remember um maybe there was like a cowboy museum that we went to maybe once upon a time. I can't
Oh, yeah, in
remember.
Fort Worth.
Yeah, but I do remember like as like I was in my late teens, early 20s, like I went to an event that was hosted at the Dallas Museum of Art, and like me and some friends went, and like we were going for I forget what the event was, but then with access to the event you also got access to walk through the
The
museum,
museum, yeah.
and it was so cool. I remember us just all walking through, and we all come from different walks of life and perspectives, so it was just kind of cool to come together and like look at something and like just talk about like what we see, what it evokes, like all of those types of things, um and to hear those perspectives, because everyone, like, art is one of those things that it can mean something different to each person. It can evoke a different emotion. We see different details, which I think is kind of what makes it special.
Yeah, I think being in a room surrounded by, um, like, the creativity, I think especially when I think of art museums, it just evokes this, like, reverence feeling,
Yeah,
of, like, that people took what was inside of them and put it onto this canvas or into this sculpture, or and it still sits here and lives here. And I just I love going to little galleries that like when you go you know on a trip and visit like touristy areas, and they have the little
yeah,
glass galleries or the little artist collectives or
yeah,
whatever. I mean, I just could spend hours dawdling in those stores looking at what people create, just because I think it's so beautiful to see this perspective through their
yeah.
eyes. So not all of it is, historical, but um, yeah, we did when, when our kid was younger, we did used to go to the science museum in downtown Fort Worth, and that was cool. Even growing up, I remember growing up in Kansas, where you have a lot of ability to see the sky and the night sky. There was a lot of like, kind of space and science museum stuff,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I am definitely fascinated with the stars and the planets, and so I really loved all of that too. So
It's so
um,
great. And I think when, having moved here to the city, like, so many museums, like, so much is, like, available and accessible, and if you're a resident, you some of them are free, like, it's just like a donation to go in.
yeah,
Others you do have to pay, but, as I was thinking about all the different museums here, like, in the 10 years I've been here, I've only been to 8, like, which seems
wow.
like a lot, but it's also, I think, not a lot in the grand scheme of things, not given there was the pandemic in there and,
I think
we were
we've
not.
been to one museum together in New York.
Which one do you think it is?
It's the Broadway Museum.
Yeah, 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 exactly.
That's the one museum we've been to together in
Mhm.
all of the times that I have
Yeah.
come to see you over all of these years. We've never made a point of doing museum tour, which I know I was saying last time I was there, I'm so surprised that like I haven't made the time to do that.
Especially when y'all have come in the summertime, like, that's exactly when we should be going to those
Yeah,
things.
instead I have you hoofing it 40 blocks in the heat.
We don't need to take the bus, we could just walk it, it's
Let's
fine.
just walk. I've
This
also
cobblestone sidewalk is great.
never been to the zoo in Central Park, so that's definitely on my list of things. I can't believe that's what I love about New York is it just every time you go, no matter how many times you've been, or if you live there, no matter how long you've lived there, there's always something new to see.
Yeah. There is. There's always something new to see. When my sister came to visit, she was here for, I think it was like 5 or 7 days. Like, she was here for a good amount of time, and so I was trying to think, like, all the different things that we could go see and do to give her,
Mm,
like, purposeful experiences
mm.
um, in throughout the city, but also, like, in the different boroughs. I had heard a lot of people talk about the New York Transit Museum. It's in Brooklyn, and
Yes, we tried to go to that and it was
we did.
closed.
Yeah, they have weird hours, but I will say, like, that one to me is probably underrated, and I think more people should make their way to the New York Transit Museum, because not only do you learn, like, the history of the transit system here in the city, you also learn a little bit about, like, the history and the growth and the development of the city, um, because the New York transit system has developed and evolved as more people have moved here and as more boroughs and were created and neighborhoods have been put up. So you
Mm,
kind of also get a little bit of an understanding of, like, where the professionals lived versus where the like construction workers live. Like, you just got a little bit more. It was more than I was expecting, I guess, is what I'm
that's
saying.
cool. That's cool. And we're talking a lot about museums in big cities, but there are tons of museums all over the place. And
Yeah.
I've been driving from here back to Wichita, where I grew up, and if to be with my family for some stuff that's going on. And um, on this drive, it's about a 5 hour drive, somewhere in the middle of it, and there's like Oklahoma City is the one like metro area in between where I'm at and where they are. So it's just 5 hours of a lot of, you know, land.
Yeah.
And there's you always watch on the roadside exits for stuff, or at least I do. There's like a toy museum. Um, somewhere in the middle of nowhere, and I keep thinking, I'm always like going, oh, I just need to get there. But I keep thinking, I should like stop at the toy museum and just see what's in there. Like it's
Yeah.
probably some small little building or whatever, but like how fun would that be? So I don't know.
It would be.
One of these times maybe I'll stop at the toy museum and check it out.
Yeah. Well, and so when we talk about like museums when it comes to self-care, like taking a stop out of your, your commute, your busy day, whatever, like to just go explore and taking that time to slow down and take in what you're seeing
Yeah.
and, truly look over the craftsmanship of something, whether it's a toy, whether it's a piece of artwork on a canvas or
Yeah.
something that someone has sculpted. Like it kind of encourages, I'm not going to say force because some people walk very quickly through museums, but like it allows you, it encourages you to slow down and really take those things in. um and I don't know, I think like that just is nice, and kind of provides like a place to catch your breath and see what inspires you, because and that
Yeah.
inspiration like you were talking about, like maybe it's not to go create a piece of art, but it like starts to create that brain space for you to think about things differently, or it just pushes you into different directions that I think when we're in our everyday busyness, we don't have that time.
Yeah. Well, I think, culturally, I think in America, we absolutely spend a lot of time um, hyper fixated on what's in front of us and not really taking the time to seek out additional perspectives, remember what happened 10, 20, 30 years ago. Like we live very much in the right now and the future.
Yeah.
History is like such a good um like teacher. And so I think part of like the importance of museums is to remember what we've already learned instead of learning the same lessons over and over again. And
Right.
you can't just copy paste, but just to like gain additional perspective and remember what we have, how we got to where we are, and what we have learned from all of that, I think is really important. And it's important that we don't just ignore those things, but that we really like take time to celebrate how far we've come and to remember what where we may go again. And
Right.
I think that's, and sometimes it's like thinking about simpler times, how we've overcomplicated something.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big part of museums. But I think also like museums are so important for helping to gain additional perspective. And like you may hear me say that and think, oh, this is like political or it's edgy, or but like no. We went when we were on our trip of the North West Pacific coast. We stopped in at the Tillamook Creamery Museum, and just like watching how like cheese and ice cream and such are made, and getting to see it actually like happening, but then learning about the history of it and what's important. And
Yeah.
um like are those little things super impactful on the way I like make decisions to live my everyday life? Like no. But they provide you different little pieces of like context or knowledge to draw on
Yep.
and just sort of widen your perspective about the world around us. And I think it's just such a good plus we got to eat great ice cream. So I mean, there is always
So that
that.
was the hook. That
So
was what sold you on going.
it was like we gotta stray away from the coast to go to the Tillamook Creamery. But it was so much more than what I thought it was going to be, and just getting to see like how it came to be, and how they think about the cows and the farmers, and how all of that goes,
Yeah.
on this journey to turn into what we go buy at the grocery store is just like it's something to really stop and pause and appreciate. And so I think there's a lot of pride in the community that creates that, and like what they produce and what they offer to the world. And I mean, I personally think Tillamook Creamery cheese and ice cream makes the world a better place. So
Yeah.
I have an appreciation for that.
Well, and so that leads me to this idea around like when people are willing to bring you in and show you like those behind the scenes things,
Yeah.
like understanding that everyone has different learning styles. So understanding how, someone could read something, someone could hear something, somebody needs to like see it, touch it, make it like tangible for them. Like I think that's another beautiful thing about museums is like it can help all types of different learners because you can go immerse yourself in it and they usually have like plaques of explanation. You can there's so many like audio tours now that you can when you walk in you can sign up for at the
I love the
museums.
audio tour, so I don't have to stop and read everything. I'm a slow reader, so it just takes me a long time, and then I get
Yeah.
distracted. So I prefer to go with Ace and have him like he's a fast reader, so he'll read everything, and I'll be like, "What was that about?"
Right, but I think like that's what all those different learning styles like really have that opportunity. Like I
Yeah,
didn't really understand um the power of storytelling until I got to college and my history teacher like told stories.
yeah,
She didn't read from a book. She didn't read from slides. Like she brought these people to life. And then all of a sudden I was like, wow, I'm really connecting with this because I'm interested in this story.
yeah,
I'm hooked. And so I think like for everyone that's different, like going to an art museum and seeing like the brush strokes that maybe you've read about in a book, but then to actually see it, like a
yeah.
picture can only do so much, but then when it's right in front of you. I remember the first time I went to the Natural History Museum here in the city. It it's very different to read about and see some of these different artifacts and bones and things like that until you're standing next to it and you're like, oh wow, a T-Rex was really that big, huh?
Are
Like it's
dinosaurs
just
really
different.
real?
It's a different experience
Yeah.
versus just reading it off a book or looking at a picture.
It really is, and it's like that whole immersive, um, kind of you're in the middle of it. You get to experience it hands on as a kinetic learner. I think I really appreciate that to get to see something new. I, I'm a gamer. I love the cozy games, and one of the first ones that I had started playing was Animal Crossing. And what I loved about most, I think, about Animal Crossing was they had this museum aspect where you would go in and you'd be able to look at all of these things that you collected and put into the museum. And it would have little tidbits of information where you would like
Oh,
learn
that's
about them.
interesting.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I know more about, like, I can identify different fish because of this museum. There are like some works of art, there's like some different like fossils and stuff. But like it's so funny that that is a part of the game that I like was most excited about, was discovering new things in the museum and getting to collect them, and like go visit the museum. And sometimes when I was like just stressed out and needing a moment of zen, I would just go take my little character and sit down in the museum and
Yeah.
just, kind of um like enjoy it all, which is it sounds so ridiculous to say, but like it really was enjoyable. So
Well, and it stuck with you, right? Like you
yeah,
I think that's whenever I look back when I was younger, I'm bummed that I didn't really understand all the different like learning styles and how um hearing things from different perspectives or reading it in different ways like and maybe like it's now because it's a bigger thing like it's more known like how to teach people how to make them feel the experience things like that
yeah.
but I remember a lot of looking back at my schooling and being like dang I really wish like I had known more about my preferred learning style to try and like engage better.
Yeah, I would say I just grew up going to museums as school field trips and stuff, and I totally took it for granted. And then as an adult, you actually have to plan that for yourself. Nobody's like taking you to the museum. And so,
You don't sign up for field trips?
that really should be a thing. Maybe that's a service we can offer, like field trips for adults. So you don't have to
You have to
plan it.
sign this waiver to go.
No waiver needed. We'll tell you where to be and when to be there. We'll provide the entertainment, the planning. Well, not me. I'm not going to do any of the planning. Let's just be honest. Be a great activity for like the Drayson. We're not going to leave planning to me, but I, I do think I took for granted the the ability to just go to a museum and enjoy it, and so maybe that's something as we talk about this that I'm kind of thinking about. I should try and plan to do at least like once a quarter, or go check out a museum and enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, for the exact reason that you just said a little bit ago around like the way that you can see and experience things differently, like depending
Yeah,
on where you are in life, depending on the information that you have available to you, like you may experience things in a different way. Um, Brace yourselves. When we were getting ready for this topic, like I flippantly threw out the idea to Frank, like, let's go to the Museum of Sex here in New York City. I've never been. And so, like, just hearing that, like, you have a
yeah.
certain expectation of what you're going to be getting into. But I will say it wasn't that. Like, yes, there were aspects of that, but like talking more about like the history of health and the availability of health care to people, not just here in the United States, but also like through the World's Fair, through the eyes of different cultures and communities.
Yeah.
Like everyone looks at life from a different place. And so going through there, you had that opportunity. And then they actually had the main exhibit was about psychedelics. And I have never done any of that. But I will say it was I told Frank afterwards as we were having dinner, like, it was interesting to me to see all of the history of how much study went into it by like um, uh, educational professors and doctors, and like
Yeah.
people really were looking at it for how it could help people in good ways, like being medically safe and all of those things. Um, but of course, a few bad actors ruin it for everyone, right? And so it's
Of
just
course.
what I found interesting is like growing up, I hadn't heard all of those pieces of it. Like I had only
Yeah.
heard the bad things, like, oh, you could take it and you could die. Like it's the extremes. But like the idea that it was really being used to help people and trying to help people work through PTSD, through traumas, like it was just super interesting and
Oh yeah,
had me looking at it.
I read a book recently actually about the author. It was like a memoir, and she was telling the story about her own experiences and trying to work through this like repressed trauma, and she became aware of this practice of using MDMA in a clinical context, in a clinical setting, for dealing with that PTSD and that trauma.
Hmm. Yep.
Um, and it was just really interesting. I just had never thought about that.
Right.
But a lot of these, like, I mean, that's the thing, is a lot of the street drugs actually do come from like a clinical representation, just like we talk
Correct.
about, like the pain meds and stuff. It's like it comes from a clinical place and then it gets, misused or
Yeah.
off-label use or whatever that then becomes recreational.
Way off label. But I will say, like, I left there, like, again, I went in with one expectation and I left, like, part of me just being like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. And then they had a display by an artist who uses body molds
Mm.
to create her work. And it was like gorgeous to walk through. It was, exhibiting the body in different states, but there was one piece where, um, like, she explains in one of the things that they have like written on the walls, like she will reuse molds to do different to create different pieces, and so she had this piece that was like kind of cut up in different pieces were like coming out of a wall. So like think about like just walking through like a curtain. So like you saw the face, you saw an arm. But then on the other side, so standing in kind of the area you're walking around is the exact same piece, but it's all one piece.
Oh,
And this one
yeah.
has like a towel on her head. So it's like coming out of a shower. So it wasn't necessarily like looking at a direct reflection. So it wasn't meant to be like, oh, looking into a mirror. It was more like exhibiting how she uses these pieces and how they can be used in different ways. It was fascinating. Like
Yeah.
I
The
not that I do
creativity
that.
that some people
Exactly.
have is just, and it kind of broadens your perspective to see some of that. I love to go
Right.
like in an art museum. I especially love the art where the paint is kind of textured on the canvas,
Yep.
and like just to go look at that and watch how somebody created this picture of something, and they did that like through all of the different placement of these colors and strokes and layers. And I love mixed media art, like just really entertained by all of that and inspired by that, and then to like look around you and see all of these things that you think, this could be like a collection of things that you put together in a way and it tells a story.
Yeah.
I really wish I would have done this. I used to think when Alex was growing up, um, I would do the laundry, and Alex always was picking up stuff and putting it in pockets. And then it would go through the laundry, and all of these things would come out in the dryer. And so like you would be doing laundry and you would just pull little things. Once I pulled pieces of a skateboard out. Um I don't know how I got into the laundry, but like just all these little things, and I used to collect them and set them on top of the dryer, or the washer, or whatever. And I once thought I should just take all of these things and put them together in this mixed media art, and it's just like Alex's pockets. And I never did that. I really wish I would have, but
Oh, that's a bummer.
I know in my mind, I still see all of those little pieces and see what I visualize. And it makes me happy to think back on, because just the curiosity of, this kid who's walking around the world and seeing something like a marble or one of those little stretchy things that goes on a hanger to keep the shirt from falling off, or, a paperclip that's been twisted up, or just all of the little odds and ends of stuff
Yeah.
that feel like little found treasures that you pick up and you collect. Um, like just such a cool thing. And so I think that's a part of when I think about art, I think about, even when I take my pictures, it's like I'm thinking about this is like through the eyes of, you know, a person. And so when you look at
Right.
other people's pictures, you're seeing the world through their eyes,
Yeah.
not through your own eyes. And so it's just so interesting.
Right. And I think that's kind of the beauty of also what museums can be, like for exactly what you just said. It's the seeing the world through others' eyes, through
Yeah.
the way that they experience it, through the way that they retell it. I heard this quote saying, I'm not sure if it's a quote, but it referred to museums as being cultural memory keepers. And I thought like that was just a fascinating way to kind of look at that.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to call it like a historic piece or, a known piece of art. And I think in those capacities, we think of it as like, ooh, it's fragile. It's really special and unique, which it is. But to say like it's a cultural memory keeper, like that to me just makes it even more fascinating. Like, ooh, now I really want to get in there and learn more.
Check it out. Yeah, I think when you think about it from that perspective of somebody's curated this, whether it's a piece of art, whether it's a collection of things, just like when I walk into one of those tourist shops, and I like think about how they curated this menagerie of all of these, little items that
Yeah.
like brings me joy. Um, like that place where you got that cup that you're drinking out of. I just think like this is somebody else's perspective of like all of these little things. And, I think what connects people more than understanding and sharing perspective. When
Yep.
you make a new friend or you start dating or, all those things, it's like you have that moment where you like start sharing, things about yourself and your own perspectives and you get to know each other more deeply.
Yeah.
And when I think about museums, whether it's, the roadside biggest pistachio museum or the whatever this toy museum is going to turn out to be, or like some Civil War museum or an art museum, or then ice cream museum, or we like whatever it might be. It's like getting to explore something through somebody else's knowledge and perspective who's
Yep.
curated that and put that together, and like then learning the history of the lives of the learnings, or the science behind something, or the getting to see the creativity that somebody else can bring to the table. I think it just kind of expands our knowing and
Yeah.
how we can look at the world, which to me is what I'm all about, is how do I continue to see things beyond just my pair of shoes.
Yeah. It's really interesting that you say that because I even think about kind of how you were saying, like when you, I think you said, like when you start dating someone and
Yeah.
you start sharing things and perspectives, like now, right? That's like the music you listen to,
Yeah.
the movies you enjoy, the TV shows that you're watching. Um, it's the way that we consume the world through like our everyday lives. And I was just thinking, like, we've been watching The Gilded Age on HBO and or Max or HBO Max, whatever it's called. It's had a few different iterations. But anyways, the show is called Gilded Age, and it's all about like New York, like back I think in the 1800s, and so
Oh,
it's
neat.
coming. Yeah, it's like to me it is one of those things that like they didn't have televisions, they didn't have like they did have music, but it was like live music,
Yeah.
and it was just I start thinking about like, oh, these people used to go out for walks. They used to go to see plays. They used to like the way they engaged with things was very different. And so, it's like taking a step back and thinking about like how those things are curated, for those individuals to engage in those things. Like, oh, have you seen that exhibit? I don't know if a lot of people say things like that anymore, right? Like
Yeah. I don't know. I think in some groups
some
are,
circles, yeah,
yeah, but it's like we're so used to people like doing things, setting things up for us, and then we get so fixated on like what it is that's right in front of us. I think um I love coming to New York and going to see a Broadway show because, that again is like somebody else's storytelling, right? Like
right,
it's a story that somebody put together, whether it's about a, you know, an old mythological tale or a book from that was written, or a something that's totally new, or
yeah.
like history. There's all the life of somebody. There's all kinds of stuff that you see, but it's like immersive storytelling, and I think storytelling is what brings us together. It's what helps us kind of connect and relate to each other and like see things on the same level. And
Yeah.
maybe part of why I'm so drawn to that is like as we broaden our perspective and we consider life from somebody else's shoes, not only do we like just get a little bit smarter, but I think, you know, it kind of counteracts some of this like tension, where that I feel like in the last, decade or so has been just climbing and climbing,
Yeah.
probably 15 years or so, this tension where people just feel like at odds and this like very polarizing energy. And being somebody who is a relator and a connector, um, that just is really uncomfortable for me. And so I think seeking out these ways to better understand, where other people are at and where they come from. And it's not about agreement. It's just about like really understanding other people's perspective and expanding my own horizon. I think, that's a form of self care for sure.
I agree. I think it's one of I do think people have to be curious about it and want to engage in that, and I think that's where maybe I get a little frustrated in that process. Um, because I am curious. Like I want to know. I want to hear the stories. I want to know about the experiences because, I only have mine. But I want to hear what other people have gone through and I want to connect with them on those real levels. And so it's hard whenever I meet people who don't want to or try to argue
Well,
different like lived experiences.
isn't that the art of storytelling, though, is like evoking curiosity in others?
Yes, but I don't think that everyone is curious.
No, for sure. I agree with that. Although I do think curiosity is a part of human nature. I do think that it is like a part that if you just look back over history, you see like all of the explorers and how do we evolve? It's through this curiosity. So I do think that that's something that's a part of us. I think fear sort of mutes curiosity sometimes, but I do think it is a part of our human nature. And I think like when I think about the best storytellers that really draw you in, they're making you curious to know more about something that you weren't thinking about or considering, or it's not like you were just sitting there noodling over it. They're like creating this curiosity. And when I think about like visionaries, in our society over the years, it's like visionaries are really good storytellers. They tell you what problem they're solving that you didn't even know was a problem.
Right?
And then how they're going to solve it, and they just create this curiosity, and they spin up all of the possibilities of the way that things could be, and they sort of draw you in. So when you think about like Walt Disney, for instance, who I think is like one of the ultimate creative visionaries, and certainly a lot of history that I love to explore and the museums that I love to go to. But like you just think about how I wasn't curious about any of those things. And then the way that he created this vision, and it was this fantastic storytelling
Yeah.
at like a different scale, that makes you curious. And so, when I think about great storytellers, I think they evoke curiosity.
Yeah. I I totally hear that. My my argument is I don't think curiosity is the catalyst
Hmm.
for people to seek things out that they necessarily don't like that Walt Disney experience.
Mm.
You that is something that you are passionate about, that you enjoyed. Maybe not the nuances until you got into those museums or started learning those bits and pieces about them. But if like I don't I'm not a cartoon person. I don't like movies made for kids. I don't Are you going to go seek that out? Like is your like
Well, I
just because
think
I don't necessarily
I'm
like or agree with
curious.
something.
Yeah, I think I'm curious by nature. Like I am a curious person. I'm the kid that always took everything apart just to see how it worked and how it was put together. And, I'm like constantly, this is my thing in gaming is like, I'll play the game because I want to just experience something new and explore and find
Yeah.
something out. And, you know, um, I love to start a new project because I'm really curious. And then once I'm no longer curious about what it's going to look like or if I can do it or, you know, um, I kind of it's almost like hyper curiosity,
Yeah.
like in this fixation with the novel. Um, so I do think, you know, that is something that I just naturally have, and I'm not sure that like I'd have to spend some time trying to understand it from a different perspective.
Yeah, and look, I think what we are both saying is like it's being willing to be open to that conversation. Like
Yeah.
it's okay if you have your own thoughts, feelings, and opinions about it, but you shouldn't be shut off just because someone has a different thought, feeling, or opinion about it than you.
Well, and
Like,
I think that's something you have to actually like actively decide and then practice because even I find myself in this place where like for instance, as an example, I love some of my podcasts and Oprah's Super Soul Sunday is something I love and I know they're like all syndicated reruns whatever of years ago but like, I didn't listen to them years ago and so like I get some great stuff from that but um I will be in the car, and the way that it comes up on Spotify in the car oftentimes is I can't figure out how to get there's like two different views. And oftentimes I'm only in the view where it's just giving me what is most recent, not like the list of episodes to choose from.
mhm.
I don't know how I sometimes land on the list of episodes because I can never really get back there when I'm looking for it. And so I'll just like turn it on and I'll start listening, but it's not necessarily something I've picked. And I'll like start to listen to it in in the very beginning and it'll be like somebody will say something and I'm like, I don't know if I agree with that. Maybe I want to skip and go to the next episode and I have to stop myself and I've been trying to be more aware of this and
Yep.
stop myself and go, "Wait a second. It doesn't really matter if I agree with it or not. There could be something really interesting in
Yeah.
here." And like kind of force myself to kind of become more aware of what I am naturally doing and go, okay, wait, why do I have this reaction? Why am I feeling this? W- It, maybe I should listen. And,
Yeah.
I think while some of them haven't necessarily been like my vibe or whatever, it definitely like brings me a different kind of perspective or understanding and I end up taking something away from
Yeah.
each of them and it's not like it changes my opinion on something but it definitely provides a different understanding or context which I think is interesting and ultimately helps me be a better human so I think it's something I've been trying to be more aware of and show up and be more present in there are times where I fail at that but I try um, to push myself to be that person that when I'm hearing something I don't agree with, and everybody has their hot buttons, but I set aside my I'm not listening for agreement. I'm listening to try and understand where somebody's coming from. Um, so I don't do that perfectly by any stretch, but I'm trying to practice that more. And
Yeah.
I think my point is, I think it's a choice and it's a muscle that you have to exercise. I don't think anyone. It's just neuroscience. I don't think anyone does that naturally.
Yeah. Well, and so I think like bringing this back to museums, like those same things can occur as you're walking
Yeah,
through, specifically things that are identifying or talking about like tough spots in history
yeah,
that maybe we have a hard time wanting to engage with. Um, but it's like just going in and being curious and learning from the past, how can we change that into the future, and maybe even like bringing it into dialogue with friends and family and like, and again, that it doesn't mean that you have to accept that as like how you're adopting a belief,
yeah.
but it's like engaging in a conversation and trying to get to hear different perspectives and how what people heard about and what. before I went to the sex museum and you asked me about hallucinogenics, I would have told you a totally different perspective than I would today because I'm more informed on it. Um, so it's like just being willing to go into those spaces to see things, to experience them, to listen to stories from different perspectives and be open to maybe having a dialogue about them,
Yeah.
to see what it sparks for other people potentially.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. So,
So I just want to talk about one more part here, and it's making museums personal. And so you and I follow a
yeah.
lot of different content creators across all of our social media platforms. And one of them I actually was listening to because they posted on a similar feed that we did about like our newest episode, and the podcast is Conversations for Curious Travels, and it's
Yeah.
hosted by this person. Her name's Erica Forrest, and the thing that kind of like caught my attention was the title of it. The episode titled is called Insider Museum Tips to Make Your Visits Unforgettable. This is before we had decided to talk about museums, but I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like what what's the insider perspective on museums? So curious minds. So I clicked on it and I started listening, and she shared that research actually shows that most of our energy is used in the first 30 minutes of visiting a museum, which you kind of said earlier, like whenever you had free access, like you would walk through, see what you wanted to see, but knowing like I can come back and I can see more.
Yeah.
So really being purposeful, like if you're going to go to a museum, do a little bit of research about what exhibits they have on, and if that's what you're going to see, she recommends go and see that first. Like go spend your first 30 minutes in the thing that you want to engage with and learn about and immerse yourself in,
I suppose
because
because there's only so much knowledge that you can take in
correct.
all at once before you just run out of capacity.
Correct. And you get tired like when you're going through and like looking at all the things and reading all the things, like you can only do
That's
so
just
much.
neuroscience.
We'll add a link to the podcast. It
Yeah,
was
I'll have
really
to check that
good.
out. Yeah, that's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, so loved that.
Thanks, Erica.
Yeah, thanks, Erica. Um, uh, Also visit with curiosity, like we talked about, not obligation. Like
Yeah.
if you're going because like your spouse is forcing you, your child is making you, like you maybe aren't in the best headspace to like go and seek out with curiosity. But that's sometimes in life you just have to do what the other person wants to do. So
Yeah.
go with curiosity. They also recommend go alone for reflection or with friends and family for a discussion, which I really enjoyed. Like, I don't think I've ever been to a museum alone. I don't think I've ever walked through one by myself. Um, Now I kind of want to go experience it.
I don't know that I want to go alone because am an expressive and I like to share. But there are certainly times like where we would go to the Nelson and I just wanted to kind of sit quietly and enjoy something. It's just like moments
Yeah,
of alone. So my version of that would be go with someone, but it's okay to split up and meet back up.
yeah. I think that's a great recommendation. We've talked about this one. Try small and local museums. Some that maybe you've heard of and maybe some that you haven't heard of, because you never know what that experience may be. So Jen, I look forward to you stopping and going through
At the
that toy
toy
museum
museum?
and
Yeah,
coming back and sharing what you find there.
I'm going to do it.
Um, and then the last thing they recommended is pair museum trips with maybe sketching, journaling, and like really unplugging from your phone and really being mindful about the physical things that you are doing while you're there. Because you experience things differently when you're writing it out, whenever you're sketching it. So, whatever you are into, like try that. I know we have museums here that have sketching hours, so people can come through and sketch. It's a really unique opportunity. Several of my colleagues actually go to them and share pictures of their experience.
That's
There's
what
Jen's
my
sketch.
museum sketching would look like.
But you have a way with words, so maybe what you would walk away with is maybe what you would walk away with is a page of beautiful written emotions evoked as you experienced the museum.
Jen's journaling. It's not going to be sketching.
No, won't be sketching. But I thought those were some really different and unique
I love
ways to
that.
think about experiencing a museum and really embracing the experience. Whether you're like, oh yeah, I've always done that. Like, what do you mean? That was not how I always experienced museums.
I don't think most people do. So it's great advice. It's really great advice. And I think, we talk about, finding ways to lift ourselves up and give back to ourselves and, pull joy from the world around us. It's like this is one of those ways to
Yeah,
just have that kind of life enrichment. As if you're chasing happiness, if you're feeling like you're in a rut, you are just kind of, you know, going through the same paces day in and day out. You need a little something different. Go check out a museum. There's tons of free ones. There's tons of ones that aren't, terribly expensive. You can find them anywhere. You can, even if it's something that's a little satirical or, like the big pistachio on the side of the road or whatever,
yeah.
like that, it could just be like a fun little experience.
And it can spark some type of seeing the world in a different way, maybe.
Absolutely. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Chris, for bringing this topic to the forefront for us to discuss. I'm feeling inspired. So I feel like I should push myself once a quarter to go once a season. I should start talking about the world in non-corporate terms. Uh, once a season, I should push myself to go and experience a museum and get to see something new or different. So
Yeah,
we'll check in on that.
please do. And for
Yeah.
all of our listeners, please share with us, like, what are some of your favorite museums? How do you like to go through an experience? Are you a individual roamer, or do you like to go with your friends and a group of people? We'd love to hear from you. You can
Yes.
drop a comment in the notes depending on what platform you're listening. You can leave the comments there. You can also reach out to us via email. You can reach us at chrisjeninthemorning@gmail.com, or you can always call and leave a voicemail or text us at 940-278-8129.
Oh, and Chris, before we like finish, we are remiss if we don't talk about what we've been doing this week. We now have merch.
Woo woo!
We are so
Merch store is
excited
live.
putting in the order for our first pieces to come to us so that we can hold it up and show it to you live and tangibly in person. But you can check it out. The link will be flashed on the screen here by the magic of our producer and put in the description. We'll make sure it's on our channel as well. We'll be creating more merch. So if there's something you don't see that you'd love to see, definitely drop a comment for us. Let us know. But all of it is stuff that we have created and designed ourselves. So super fun and exciting adventure that we've been going on. Just channeling all of our graphic design, web design, creativity. Like it's all self-taught, guys. but really excited with how some of this stuff has turned out. And so if you love the show, if you enjoy the time that we are spending with you and you want to have a piece of it, we would absolutely be delighted to share with you. So tell us if there's something you want to see that you don't see. We would love that. If you have a favorite funny quote or something that you think we should include, tell us about that too. And until next time, be kind to one another and have a
Bye,
great
everyone.
week.